I'm a great believer in experimentation and trying to build up a portfolio of strategies that you can apply on different markets and different races and so on. Lots of these experiments won't work, but if they allow you to eliminate some ideas or indeed lead to other ideas, they're worthwhile doing. One of the things I've been looking at recently was stemmed from my observation whilst watching the races during the winter, where small field races quite often had the outsider either going on to win or certainly running very, very well and shortening significantly in price. And I was looking at ways of trying to exploit that somehow. And one of the things I've come up with is using a Dutching technique to Dutch a favoured horse along with the outsider or a high priced horse, with a view to trading out of the favoured horse in running such that the money sitting on the outsider is covered. In other words, it gives you at best a free bet on the outsider. You can obviously trade out at a lower price on the favoured horse to give you some more green on all the other runners, which is my preferred option. But I've been looking at this over the past 2 months or so, and I've been surprised at how well this works. Let me just give you an example. Imagine that we wanted to Dutch Miami Carousel with the outsider Warapito. It's easier if I switch to the ladder. We have Warapito here, Miami Carousel. We Dutch this for an overall stake of £100. You'll see that we have £97 sitting on Miami Carousel and we have £3 sitting on Warapito. Okay, so if I submit that, you'll notice that I'm in simulation mode so that I can chop and change the numbers easily without actually submitting real money. So we need to recover £3 from this Dutch. So this horse here, Miami Carousel, we want to shorten in price in running to recover £3. So in actual fact here, we just need it to shorten by 3 ticks, and that will then green up this horse £3.84 spread across all the runners, which covers the outlay on Warapito. Now what I tend to do is actually look for a little bit more than that. I tend to be a little bit greedy, and I increase that. I don't go more than 10 ticks though. So for example, if I was to say let's trade out at 4 here, we'll have £3 covering our outlay on Warapito and £20 across the board. Okay, so we'll end up with £20 across the board plus £365 plus 90, so near enough £460 sitting on Warapito. So we then hope that Warapito runs a blinder, either goes on to win or at the very least shortens in price significantly, and during the race we can then lay small bets in at ever decreasing odds to maximise the return. So what's the dangers of this? Well, the obvious danger is that our chosen favoured runner, in this case Miami Carousel, doesn't shorten in running. There's two things with that. First of all, in the 50 or 60 races I've done over the past 2 months, that has happened 3 times. But that has been more than compensated for, getting on for £100 in each case. That has been more than compensated for by the outsider either going on to win or shortening significantly, where the money has been able to be recovered that way. So that has been very, very encouraging. However, I hasten to point out 50, 60 races does not a strategy make. It's statistically insignificant. You need to test this over a much larger number of races. But as I say, I've been pleasantly surprised by it. The other thing to note is that perhaps not so much on sprints, but on the longer races, there's plenty of time to trade out for a much, much smaller loss if you think that your favoured horse isn't going to do the business for you. In the meantime, of course, there's the great possibility that your outsider is charging through the field and its odds are coming down. So there's still an opportunity of being able to trade out via that way as well. So all is not lost, but the biggest danger, certainly in a sprint, is your favoured horse decides not to jump out the stalls, or in a longer race over jumps, it falls early on in the race. Those are your two biggest dangers. Yeah, but as I said, from the races I've looked at, the performance of the outsider more than compensates for the occasions when your favoured horse hasn't gone on to meet its trade out point. Plus, of course, you don't need to do what I'm doing here, where I'm looking for more money, so I've got money sitting on every horse. You could always just go, in this case, look for the 3 ticks. That's an option. So we'll look at this live once the race starts going. Okay, back again, and as you'll see, the odds for Warapito have actually increased quite significantly just before the off. Generally speaking, I would probably go for something around the 50-60 mark, but for the purposes of this exercise, we'll just stick with the horses I'd already picked. So, race is hopefully going to get off soon, so we'll just submit the bets. Okay, and with the keep option set, we can decide how much we want to recover. Well, we need to recover £1.79, so we could actually only ask for 1 tick in running, and that would give us a free bet. But let's be a little bit greedy. In fact, our 1 tick, we could recover it here and get a free bet. It's almost getting matched there just now. But let's be greedy and go for 4.1, because generally speaking, that's the sort of level I would go for. What I wouldn't do though is go for more than 10 ticks. It's really up to you. So we're just waiting for this race to start. Off we go. So we just want this to, and there we are. We see getting matched, and that's us matched already. That's the purpose of this task. So what we do now is we go to this side in the hope that Warapito actually runs quite well. Doesn't look as if it's going to, but what you can do is either just see if it goes on to win, or you could stick in smaller lays and see if they get met. You can see at any time you can green up, and if we switch to the grid mode, yeah, he's clearly not gone anywhere. But that's okay. That's the purpose of this exercise. By doing that, and not only recovering the money we have on our outsider, but asking for a bit more, we can guarantee ourselves a profit over the other runners. And then if our outsider comes in, great, major bonus. So we looked for 10 ticks, we got it, and we've recovered £21 profit. So that's essentially the idea behind this strategy. Keeping in mind that the one and only risk you have is your main runner doesn't shorten in price. Let's have a look at the next race. Is a fairly small field as well. Okay, we'll have a look at this one, but I'll pause the video and come back to you nearer the time. Okay, ready for the opener at Uttoxeter. Looking at this race, this isn't a race I would normally get involved in. I don't like the look of the odds spread on this one, but for the purpose of the exercise and demonstration, we'll do it. So I'm looking at using the Arteta as my main horse, and obviously the outsider. As I say, I'm not convinced I would actually choose this race under normal circumstances. Okay, so we want to Dutch L'Arteta and Lark Swing. You'll see that we've got less than £2 on Lark Swing. Click on submit, and you'll see £2. We can do that within a tick to recover, but let's be a little bit greedy again, and we'll see if it can drop down to 7. Okay, Just waiting for the race to start. Shouldn't be long now. Okay, Lateta's the one in red with the yellow triangle. That's him there, I think. So we want him to do reasonably well. If I move this down a little bit, you can see our green up or red up trade out all button. Doesn't change dramatically in a longer race in any case. So if we think that our main runner isn't going to shorten enough, by all means we can look to get out. In the meantime, our other runner, we just have to sit and wait to see if he actually runs quite well. Which one's he? Lark's Wing is that one. So he seems to be running okay at the moment, getting a little bit of a tap from the rider. So you can see we could actually trade out already and green up. So we could trade out of here, and because we've only got £2 on our outsider, we'll actually get a small profit across the board if we trade out just on this one. It doesn't look as if Lark's Wing's actually going to do much, judging by the way he's riding at the moment. But you'll see, well, that's us matched out now already, so we're guaranteed £24, and we've got £864 sitting on Lark's Wing. So if someone likes to give him a kick up the backside, that would be great. But essentially our job's done now. We can either let that go off and do its own thing, or as I mentioned earlier, we can scroll down here and put in smaller lays, but it doesn't look like he's going to do anything the way the rider's having to encourage him a little bit. So we switch to the grid mode where we see everything a bit clearer. But that's essentially the principle of this strategy. So it's a case of balancing the odds, doing a little bit of homework pre-race, although I essentially randomly picked the runners in these two examples. It's worthwhile doing a little bit of homework, finding out which runner has a habit of shortening in price, because of course that's the thing that you want to do. It's a pity we haven't had a race where the outside pick has actually run quite well, but because that can really boost your profits. But that's the principle behind it all. Okay, thanks for watching.